Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome again to this week number 5 of the Spotlight Initiative presentation of Gender-Based Violence and You. For this week, we will be putting the spotlight on sports and sports, the impact that it have on gender-based violence, that is the reduction of same. So we have pulled together a team across region number 6 that is going to address this topic today. For those who have been following the program over the last 4 weeks, we would like to say thanks. Congratulations for joining us. And by the feedback that we have been receiving from phone calls, people meeting us in taxis, on the road, in the marketplaces, in supermarket, and coming forward and giving us feedback, we know that the project is creating the impact that we intended to be. Also, we were having a Zoom meeting yesterday with UNICEF, one of the collaborating partners on the Spotlight Initiative project, and they were informing us that they are impressed because they have met their goal of publicizing the Spotlight Initiative project to put the focus on women and girls as it relates to gender-based violence. In week number 1, we introduced the project to you, and Mr. Adler Bino from United Nations Population Fund was present and participated in week number 1. In week number 2, at the Central Police Station in New Amsterdam, we were successful by having the Guyana Police Force educating members of the public on the type of services they offered for gender-based violence activities and the psychosocial support offer. In week number 3, we were privileged and honored to have the Ministry of Human Services and Social Security officers from the Probation Department and from the Child Care Department. And that was also successful as they tried to educate members of the public to utilize the service. We have been informed by the officers in New Amsterdam, Women Corriverton, that there have been an increase in the utilization of their service due to the publicity that the Spotlight Initiative project, Gender-Based Violence and You, have given to them. And then last week, our focus was on the Ministry of Health, where we had officers from the Ministry of Health putting the spotlight on the activities from social work to administration and to the different type of services that they are giving at hospitals, health centers, and outreaches across the region. This week, joining me on Gender-Based Violence and You, a program sponsored by the Spotlight Initiative, which is initiated, funded, and implemented by the United Nations family here in Guyana and the European Union, are the following. To my extreme right is Mr. Hilbert Foster, and by now he has become a household name due to the fact that for the last 34 years he has been involved in community work and in the administration of sports as the secretary of the Rosaltown Youth and Sports Club and the president of the Barbies Cricket Board. He have recently been elevated to vice president of the Guyana Cricket Board and one of the directors of the West Indies Cricket. We are honored to have him today to put the spotlight on sports as it relates to gender-based violence. Supporting Mr. Foster this morning will be Mr. Amir Rahman. Mr. Rahman hails from the community of Kanji, and he is a maths teacher at the Wyman Zervin Secondary School in New Amsterdam. He is also playing an important part in the development of sports across the length and breadth of region number 6 Berbice by being the assistant secretary of the Berbice Cricket Board. He also wears a similar hat in the community of Kanji, where he assists with cricket administration and is coach and manager at the Rosal Kanji Cricket Club. Mr. Amir Rahman is a young man who is devoted and dedicated towards the development of sports, especially cricket, in the region, and have the unique opportunity of joining us this morning to put the spotlight on sports' contribution to the reduction of gender-based violence. Then they will say, I know the man, you know the man, all of us know the man, especially those who are in Gaisuko, have the unique privilege of meeting the guy across there in the middle, who is the president of the Guyana Volleyball Federation here in Guyana, so not only in Region 6, but across the length and breadth of Guyana. He is also the student affair officer of the Gaisuko Training Center, Port Morant Hostel, where he had the unique opportunity for the last, in and out 19 years, of shepherding and keeping in line the apprentices at the Gaisuko Training Center, both males and females. He is also the head coach for the national team, whereby you have the unique opportunity of training our national team when they have to represent Guyana. Mr. Ned, because of his diverse activities in sports, also is a qualified social worker. So whenever any member of the volleyball team or any of the apprentices have any problems, as a qualified social worker, he can provide the enabling environment to offer them psychosocial support. He is also a qualified sport administrator with the Guyana Olympics Association. With such a team, ladies and gentlemen, for this hour of week number 5 of gender-based violence and you, we'll be putting the spotlight in sports. So allow me to decrease and allow the Vice President of the Guyana Cricket Board and one of the directors of West Indies Cricket to increase by coming to the floor and addressing you, Mr. Hilbert Foster, who hails from Rosalton, and he is a father and a father figure also to many, and he will be putting the spotlight on the sports in Guyana, now in the Caribbean, of how it can aid us to reduce violence of any form, such as physical violence, mental torture, that is young men drinking drunk and go home and behaving mad and terrorizing their wife, and after spending out their money, even economic violence by reducing the amount of money they contribute to their families to ensure that their families are supported in an all-round manner. And Hilbert also is a firm believer in educating children. And when children are not educated properly, they suffer because of violence in the home. Ladies and gentlemen, my privilege, my honor to present to you the Secretary of the Rosalton Youth and Sports Club and CEO, Vice President of the Guyana Cricket Board and Director of West Indies Cricket, Mr. Hilbert Foster.
Thank you very much, Mr. Foster, for that introduction. Well, I've been involved with the Rosalton Youth and Sports Club for 31 years, and over that period of time, we have used the platform of sports and education as a way to get our young men especially to understand that sports is a key factor in the development of oneself, and at the same time we have also become the only cricket club in Guyana that have a full-time female section where we try to make sure that not only boys but girls fulfill their potential on and off the cricket field. And I'm also proud that the Barbies Cricket Board is the only county board in Guyana that actually promotes female cricket in Guyana, and we have been very successful at that. Now, I'm a man that believes that striking a woman is a no-no. And as such, I have used my platform at the club and at the board to get our young cricketers to understand that hitting a woman is not something that should be encouraged, should not be tolerated. Now, you might want to know why sports is so important in this fight against domestic violence and gender violence. It is very simple, is that cricket is a team game, and as such you have to learn to work along with others. You have to be disciplined if you want to have success in cricket, because one day you could be very high up on the mountain with all the forms that you need, and at the same time the next day you could come crashing down. You could make 100 one day and the next day you could be out first ball. Because it is not an individual sport, cricket teaches you to become disciplined at all levels. And there have been a few mishaps in terms of cricketers being involved in domestic, but I'm happy to say that the majority of them have gotten the message. Now, Alex had mentioned earlier that I'm a strong believer in education, and it is very simple. Since I was very young, my grandmother, my mother always taught us that education is the key to success. It opened doors that would normally remain closed, and I strongly believe that an educated mind would not allow you to become involved in violence, to become involved in drugs. As I always tell my cricketers, a true friend does not encourage you to drink, does not encourage you to steal, does not encourage you to be abusive to other people, because an educated mind solves problems more easily. And we have invested, both of the club and the Barbados Cricket Board, very heavily in education. Over the last 31 years that the Rosalta Youth and Sports Club has been in existence, we have invested over perhaps about $300 million to make a difference in the educational field by assisting hundreds, if not thousands, of young people to complete their educational career. And one of the things that we have implemented at the Barbados Cricket Board is that we are giving out educational scholarships to young cricketers, and each sub-association is mandated to make sure that females are part of it. We have also published the only youth information booklet for young cricketers in the Caribbean, whereby we try to get them to understand that violence and crime, etc., is not part of the life that you should be living. And to date, we have published about 6,000 copies of those booklets, which are being distributed. We have held youth inspiration forum, where we try to get the same message across, that education and sports are a good alternative to a life on the road, and at the same time to get them to understand that a girl is not your personal property to be taken advantage of. And I could commit on behalf of the club and of the Barbados Cricket Board that we will continue to invest in similar way. Now, our investment in female cricket, many people ask me, why do we invest in girls? But our investment, worth millions of dollars, has been very successful, because the club has been able to produce 4 West Indies players, girls that would have perhaps been on the road doing nothing, and they are Campbell, Gatsmany, Grimmon, and Giddings, and they have all made us proud. As a club, we have also produced about 40 girls who have played either for Barbados or Guyana, well, with the 4 of them going on. And because of their experiences, they are able to get other girls to come on board to play the game. And I might get in trouble for saying this, but it also teaches them that girls should also be respectful of males. It's not a one-way ticket to happiness in a family. It's that both sexes will have to be responsible for their behavior. And I think we're doing a very good job at that. And one of the things we are also using is that we have, as a club, we have produced about 18 players who have gone on to play for Guyana, both male and female. And those persons, like the 4 names that I mentioned, people like Kevin Sinclair, people like Kevin Anderson, they're all positive role model to their peers, and because of their guidance and actions, and the others are able to fall in line.
So far, so good. Supporting Hilbert this morning is Mr. Amir. And Amir hails, as I said in the introduction, from the community of Kanji, and have been mobilizing young men in the community of Kanji to participate in the sports of cricket. At this time, I would like to invite him to share with us some of his experience in the community there and how he sees that sports can contribute to better men and girls in his community of Kanji.
Not only are boys alone at my cricket club, but what I have done is that I have introduced female cricket to my club. One of my biggest motivators in sport is sitting to further on my right is Mr. Albert Foster. I follow what he does a lot. I am proud to be part of his team in the Barbies Cricket Board, and I want to make a positive change in sports. That's what I go about my life, being a leader in sport. I usually tell myself I have to make a positive change in sport. Sports is something that I love a lot. I basically run all the day-to-day activity at my club in Kanji. My club consists of players from all walks of Kanji, which includes, I have like a total of nearly 5 females, where all of went on to represent the Guyana at the youth level. I have nearly 40 young men, and I should say close to 30 adults at the club that I manage on a day-to-day basis. These young men, some of them come from the background of very poor families. Poverty struck some of them after the closure of the estate. But what I did was, I did not give up on them. I tried to find every possible opportunity, whether that opportunity came out of my pocket or I got help, to give them this opportunity to excel in sport. To this day, we have been doing, I will not say excellent, but I think we have been doing pretty well. Mr. Foster usually praises us from where we have been to where we are now. We have become one of the top youth clubs in the entire region. Right? The thing is, I would not give up on these youths. I know they need help because I prefer seeing them at my cricket ground, where I can take care of them, where I can guide them, where I can create opportunities to them, rather than seeing them on the streets. Because at the end of the day, I know they will end up being a positive role model to others. At the school that I'm teaching, I'm currently a mathematics teacher at the Primary Irving Secondary. My school that I'm teaching at, the kids there, they are more in love with practical stuff. You go out there and give them anything practical to do, they would do it. They love it. So that's why at school I have tried my best to create numerous opportunities there through sports, not only cricket, but different sports, such as volleyball. We have even started table tennis, because they love these things. Right? A lot of my kids there also comes from poor background, but that does not mean I will give up on them. I still will find ways to create these opportunities for them, because at the end of the day, they deserve it.
Just to be here with us, that's one, and for contributing in a very meaningful way, not only by talking, but by genuine action in your community. We do hope that the listeners, especially other young men in other communities, can make themselves available to come out on a regular basis to mobilize their communities to ensure that the success that Amir and Hilbert have received from their community can be realized. I am not a cricket fan, but little I know, in the absence of Rosal Town Youth and Sports Club, Rosal would have never had outstanding cricketers, or the community center would have never been fully utilized and putting our region, our community, and our country on the map. And all the success that they had is just because persons, young men and young women, choose to come forward to give service. Many of us believe that we cannot speak properly in public, so we do not take up big and honorable roles. But this is a role that we can all take up, and that is to be leaders to our peers and provide them with the enabling environment like the three other persons here on the stage have been able to do. So, to put the spotlight now out of cricket and giving us some different views. In his introduction, I said that he wears many hats, but he is most proud of his new appointment as the president of the Guyana Volleyball Association. From Berbice, he is able to rise up to a national level and produce also national players. Mr. Ned is going to put the spotlight on the fact that he works with apprentices who are all over this country. Mr. Ned sings at the national level. The last time he sang here, when the Honorable Minister for Human Services and Social Security was here, and she put him on his website, he had over 700,000 views, and how many other 100,000 sharing. And Minister alone had over 900 persons writing to her and congratulating her that an African guy singing Indian music and serenading her with the power of a woman, because he understands that women are very powerful creatures. They are our first teachers, and they help to mold and shape most of us, especially persons like myself who grew up in a single parent home. Mr. Ned had the opportunity of molding young men into productive citizens who are in the Middle East, in Europe, in North America, and all over the world. And he takes teams from Guyana volleyball all over. Do not allow me to further continue to steal his thunder, but allow him to tell you what sports is doing for his target audience at the Gaisuko Training Center and across the country as he practiced to become a better president of the Guyana Volleyball Association. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Levi Lawrence Ned.
Thank you very much, Hilbert. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. Thank you very much, Alex. Sorry. I'm so flabbergasted about Hilbert. I said that. My apologies. But there's so much to be said. As a matter of fact, I need to introduce myself properly. I'm wearing so many caps. I played for division cricket. I am a coach in athletics. I'm a coach in table tennis. I'm a coach in volleyball. I'm a coach in football. I played professional football in Martinique for 2 seasons. I was a goalkeeper there. That's on the French island of Martinique. I also played table tennis representing Berbice. I still play table tennis at age 59. And I do so much in sports. I was a national athlete at the javelin, shot put, discus, long jump. I got gold medals and so on. And I'm an athletic coach. So I'm in the full heave of sports, if you want to say that. But in my opening statement, I'd like to say that sports is the thrill of victory and the agony of losing. But when you play in sports, it develops you so much in so many things, not only for female, but for male. For example, when you play sports, it's like you're on a stage performing. And little do we realize when we play sports, it's how we live our life. That is how we play sports. Let's take, for example, Alex. If Alex were to be a football player, that would have been one of the best football players we've had, because of his tactfulness, because of his pushiness, and all the other attributes that goes with football. And the way, if he would have been the player to be there, he would have been the player of the season and the player of the tournament. And also too, I'd also like to let you guys know that where I would have benefited in sports. Now, I used to play in the French league, and I earned 600 US a week for the 2 seasons. And that was good. That I was able, because we were poverty stricken at home. And when I went overseas there and started playing, I could have sent back money to my parents to do so many things. As a matter of fact, I was able to bury my father when I came back because of that. I had the cash I had things I could have done. And from then I became so popular. People started knowing me and so on and so forth. I also had the opportunity to learn French, to speak, read, and write French fluently now. In as much through the years, I would have forgotten most of it, but I'm more French biased. I also got the opportunity of meeting new people. Just for a simple example, one time I was going to Trinidad and my passport expired at the airport when they checked it was expired. I had to rush back to the passport office. And there it was, a guy who I met through football. He said, "Mr. Ned, what are you doing here?" And he was able to give me a renewal of my passport so that I could have got the same flight and go to Trinidad. Also too, I was coming from another country, and there's this guy that met me. He was the host on the plane. And he put us on first class. All my players and I, we were able to go on first class and experience first class traveling on the plane due to him knowing me and I knowing him. So it helps you to build and to get so popular, to meet so many different people. Also too, I'd like to let us all know that sports is dual in one sense. You have the dual sports and you have the team sports. The dual sports is where you can play table tennis and other sports to motivate oneself or your own self. And you have the team sports such as football, cricket, volleyball, where you can work as a team and help to develop yourself. And not to be too quickly, but to go through the benefits of sports. Sports, first of all, gives you better sleep. When you finish playing, you're so tired.
If you don't lose.
If
you're not a loser.
Well, he's saying if you don't lose. But when play comes into place, that's another thing. But when you exercise in sports, it triggers the chemical in the brain, and it can make you so happy and make you so relaxed. It gives you also a strong heart when you play in sports. Also, new connections, as I would have told you just now. I have had the opportunity of so far traveling to 35 countries to participate in games. And I still do. If it wasn't for the COVID, last year in October I would have been in Hong Kong at the summit. But because of that, it had to be curtailed. It also produces your, improve your lung function, the function of your lungs, in terms of breathing, your anaerobic and aerobic breathing. It also helps you to increase, gives you increased confidence. Just giving somebody a little high five or a pump or a hug or an encouragement, it moves you so much in sports. It also helps to reduce stress. It also helps to improve your mental health. I can tell you, for example, a volleyball player, he said he had an accident, and he said if it were not for volleyball, he would not have known how to tuck and roll. Your whole locomotion, the way how you walk, the way how you run, being able to skip up 3 steps at a time and to do all this stuff is due to sports. It makes your anaerobic and your aerobic respiratory system very well. And last but not least, sports also build leaders. Because what I do at the training school here with all my sportsmen, and I was just checking when Hilbert was saying how many he would have tutored. I was like in the vicinity of 240. And I had them do his public speaking and lecture series so as to improve. Also when Alex would go there, he would do the same with them. And you would be surprised to see when they give their presentations later in life, how they bloom, how they come out on top. So it's very important. And also too, I'd like to note, it's nice when females play sports. It is so nice. Because if you have nothing to do, you become a servant of the devil's workshop. You become idle. So I'm encouraging females too to play. Right now I've had about 13 females who represented, who captained the country, who played pivotal roles in volleyball. We are also now encouraging females to do coaching. We have some certified female coaches in the Volleyball Federation. We have some certified female referees in the Volleyball Federation. Right now, as I sit here, we are planning to have another Zoom training for qualified referees. And out of 16, we have 10 females that are affiliated to that lot. So we're pushing more to put female on the market. Suffice it to say that our sports in Guyana is not to the level it is supposed to be. When you go overseas and you see what is happening. But we improvise and we do what we have to do to ensure and to make persons participate. And I'm always proud when females do it because, you know, females are the fussy type. They're the type that likes most of the attention and so on and so forth. And once they get that, they're good to go. They bloom out. So that is what I have to say in a nutshell. And I would encourage persons to play sports. It's very, very important. And as I said, how you play sports, that is how you live your life. If you play sports very cunningly, that is how you live. If you play viciously, that is how you live. I've seen that in many sportsmen. And at the training school, why I encourage volleyball? Because volleyball is a thinker. It might not, because presently, cricket has taken away so much of volleyballers. I don't mind, because I am also supporting table tennis at the school. I am also supporting cricket at the school. I am also supporting chess playing at the school, dominoes and all the other games, because we need for these guys to become versatile when they get out there. I tell you, you may have kids who are going to ask you questions, you got to know stuff, you got to know things. So those kids would be able, as a parent, you would have the know-how. Sometimes the kids ask me, sorry, is there anything you don't know? Because I'm into all of the sports. Right now, I am running a table tennis tournament of the top 10 at the training school. We are also having our inter-house volleyball. We are also having our inter-house football. Apart from the academic studies, we allow these extracurricular activities to go on the stream, so as to have them rounded and to have them versatile and to have them produced as good citizens of Guyana. So I'm very happy to be here this morning to be able to deliver this, and I trust that it places effect on those who I feel out there who are listening and looking on. Thank you.
Mr. Ned, I just want, especially the young ladies listening here, is that not every one of you are going to become the scholar with 15 or 20 subjects, but sports offer one of the very few alternatives to live a lifestyle that you want. I'll give you a couple of examples. There was a young man who came all the way from Amsterdam to join us, and I remember him asking me for money to go home. And to catch a car to go back, to have a meal. And today he's a multi-millionaire for, playing for the West Indies. In fact, he has risen so much in life that he now gives back to Barbies and to the club. In fact, he calls me to make donations. There was another girl, or there was a girl who joined us about 8 years ago. And she was struggling financially, again requests help on a regular basis. And she's now a senior member of the West Indies cricket team. A perfect example, Shimin Campbell. And I'm happy to call her name because of the simple fact that Shimin in Guyana's cricket is historic because she's the only female cricketer in Guyana to have ever scored a century at the club, at the national and international level. And Shimin has several vehicles. Shimin has our own beautiful home in a housing scheme, which a couple of years ago she would not have been able to do. One of the things, the main problem, I think everybody will agree with me here, one of the main problems for domestic violence is poverty. And a husband cannot provide for a wife, or the wife cannot support the husband, so you get physical. If you can't afford $100 for a pound of sugar, it will end up in a fighting match. So once you get involved in sports, I mean, other sports might not offer the alternative like cricket or the lifestyle of cricket. So please get involved. As Mr. Ned said, it allows you to reach new people. Some of the people that I have met in life would not have been possible without my involvement in cricket. Some of the people like Gatsmany, Campbell, Grimmett, Orvan, the people that they have met would not have been possible without cricket. And I think the girls as well, they learn to deal with their male counterparts through the game of cricket, because if you fight in a cricket team, it carries, we have a simple saying, like what Eric Williams said in Trinidad. In maths, 11 minus 1 is 10. In cricket and in sports, 11 minus 1 is not. Because if there is one bad apple in a team, and Mr. Nell, I think you agree with me here,
yes,
a team is as strong as its weakest link. And if the link is cut, it affects the whole team. A family is as strong as its weakest link. If there is a father who abuses his wife in front of his children, he teaches his children then it is okay to hit a woman. If he sends them to buy, or vice versa, if you send them to buy rum for you to drink, you're teaching them that it's okay to drink rum. And the same thing with cigarettes and things like that. So It is important that we set an example, and young girls, if you're listening, parents, if you're listening, especially the Indian parents, and this is not have nothing to do with racial thing. Allow your children to get involved. Gatmani is a perfect example. Gatmani is a Muslim, and her parents have allowed her to continue playing the game, and she's now representing the West Indies and a permanent member of the team, carrying home millions of dollars every single year. Right? And I think she's also an example to the rest of, and we have several Indian girls. The hardest part about female cricket, I know I'm taking some time here, is that once these girls have a boyfriend or a husband, they're virtually forced to stop playing cricket. Because their husband don't want them to be on show, as they put it, for other men perhaps to admire them or for them to be running in pants and so in front of a packed stadium. So, but parents, let your children get involved in sports. As Alex said in his opening speech, sports gets you to do positive things and to kick out the negative things like beating a woman or even beating a man. So back to you.
Okay, thank you very much. We have about 15 minutes or so, I'm going to ask some questions. And the first one that I would like to ask is to Teacher Amir. As a teacher, Amir, I would like to know your ideas about how sports can be an integral part of the system and change some of the attitude of angry young people in school. Would you like to share your thoughts on that? And since we have Mr. Ned and Hilbert here, maybe if an idea sounds reasonable with you, it's something that we can work collectively on a team, as a team, to develop, to ensure that the school, a population that is always there, can be able to be harnessed and utilized for bigger things, because from a very early age we can be able to capture the imagination of our young people. So would you like to share your thoughts on that, Teacher Amir?
One of the things that I love the most about sports in school is that it helps a lot with discipline. Discipline is usually a sore factor in a young adolescent's life at school. Discipline, what I have seen happen in my 11 years of teaching at that school is that kids have changed a lot through sports. Kids have become a lot more disciplined, all because they know this is one of the criteria to play the sports at school. You need to be disciplined. Also, the sport in school teaches discipline. Another thing, it creates opportunities. It creates opportunities such as some kids may not have that opportunity to go to a club or be part of a club or live far from a club. It gives them that opportunity to play the sport. And with kids being involved in sport, their minds will not be that idle. What I also love about it is that the relationship it builds with a teacher and the students. I have seen the lives of kids changed a lot through sports, especially where I'm at, and I am proud to say that, you know what, I have contributed to that. Kids and sports, once you get them involved, you can see that how attentive they are. We can build relationships through sports to get them to do their schoolwork. Meaning, you lay out this to them saying, okay, you want to be part of the sports team, you want to play sports, you got to get your grades up. And I have seen it happening. Kids want to make the team. Then you tell them that, you know what, you need to have a certain attendance so they will not stay away from school. They really want to play the sport, they would come to school. They would be in their classes, they would try their best to get their grades up so that they can play the sport. So sports, for me, is a very, very big thing in school, and I'm glad that sports is still part of it. And what I also like to say is that I am happy that the Barbados Cricket Board tries its best to get cricket into schools, into the school systems, and I have seen the big difference that it has made in the lives of kids.
Okay, I know that participation in sports is very good because it helps you to develop a lot of skills. Other than discipline, if you want to be successful in sports, you will have to be focused. You have to develop the ability to understand games. And in the world that we live today, where everything is done on the internet and where everything is done with the fingers, other than you spending millions of dollars on a yearly basis at the gym, sports is an avenue to keep fit, to keep not only physical fitness, but mental fitness, because you will have to utilize skills if you want to be a winner. I attended the Guyana Training Center that Mr. Ned is in charge of, and I'm quite aware of the fact that as an apprentice, my participation in sports helped me to control some of the anger that I have. So this question is to Mr. Ned. Mr. Ned, can you explain to us your experience of how the Guyana Training Center have incorporated sports into its everyday activity at the Guyana Training Center, which helped to create rounded individuals over the year?
Happy to rebut on that. I did a census recently whereby when I went to the school in 2003, when I went to the institution there, I started volleyball because volleyball was my thing. In as much you had cricket and you had the other sports and so on, volleyball was it. It so happened that now we were one of the top teams in the country to start with. And apart from that, I found that there were persons who were way below because our pass mark there was 70%. You had to get a 70% pass mark. And I found that persons, when they finished and they graduated with 4 and 5 distinctions. And you found that the volleyballers were most of the top students. If you look at the Watson Award board, you see that most of them were the volleyballers. If you look at the public speaking board, most of them were volleyballers. So I find that, and volleyball as a game is very, very technical. You have to do so many things at a split instance, in a split decision. You have to make a decision whether you have to flick, whether you have to attack, or what to do with the ball. And that is what assisted them to open their horizon, to open their thinking, and so on and so forth. So that is what I'd like to say pertaining to the development of sports.
Thank you. When you say rebut, maybe that we not go fight.
What space the cricketers come last?
No, the cricketers play too, but the problem with cricket there, well, it's not a problem really.
It's a joke, Mr. Ned.
No, it's okay. It's okay. No, but we support cricket. We've had cricketers that go for the Borbies team and so on. We've had cricketers there. I myself was a cricketer that played.
Okay. Now, this question is to Hilbert. Your organization, Rosalton Youth and Sports Club, did a booklet on suicide, a handbook on suicide. Therefore, we know that suicide is a problem in our region, and participation in sports give people some sense of purpose that should help us to reduce suicide. I'd like you to touch on that in the interest of time, to be short and focused. And the other question is, how can I join a cricket club? Where do I go to join, and what do I need to have to join it? So maybe a parent listening or a young man listening and said, maybe I'm fat, I'm overweight. They will laugh at me, I'm not a good cricketer. Just give them two things, encouragement and how do I join?
I'll answer the first one first, is that almost in every single village in Berbice there is a cricket team, because we have about 90 cricket team functioning right now. So all you have to do is to go out into your village or your town and ask persons down there. I think most of the club in Berbice, their membership is free, or their parents attract a membership fee of about $100 or $200 a month. And or you could call the Berbice Cricket Board on 333-2375. I personally don't have a cell phone, but you could get me on 337-4562 for information concerning the suicide. One thing that inspired my expansion of the club under the Berbice Cricket Board on suicide programs is that I was in the hospital about 2-3 years ago, and a young lady had drunk poison. When I left the hospital, she was very well. Sadly, she died 2 days after, but I remember speaking to her, and the reason she drank poison was because she hit her sister with a book, and she was afraid of how our parents will react. I think we will have to get into our young people that life is the best gift that God could ever give you, and that you will have to cherish it. And at the same time, you will also have to understand that every person, including myself and every member in this panel here tonight, have made mistakes that we would have regretted. But the most important thing in life is that you cherish life and that you learn from your mistakes. And talk to people around you. Talk to your parents, talk to your teachers, talk to friends who you could trust. Not every person who smiles with you is a friend, so perhaps you could speak to your priest, your pandit, your meiji, and confide in them. And at the end of every single dark cloud is a good silver lining. And tonight it might sound impossible, but in the morning, trust me that you will feel better, and God always gives you a choice. And Alex, if I may add this to the young people listening here tonight, I just want to advise you that if there is one person in your life that will never ever fail you, is the God you worship, whether it is Jesus, Allah, or Krishna. Have faith in God, and He will always find a way to solve whatever problems you're facing.
Thank you, Hilbert. I would like now to shift the focus on the pinnacle of sports involvement, that is representing your country. I am not a sportsman, everybody is quite aware of that, but I represent Guyana at various forums. I had the opportunity over the years to visit over 45 countries around the world. And every time I go to represent Guyana, there is a feeling that I have which cannot be explained in words. One will have to experience it to understand. Since Mr. Ned have represented Guyana, and Hilbert have represented Guyana, Amir is moving in that direction of representing Guyana. When Hilbert gets a little old and cannot run for position again, Amir might fit in there. We'd like to hear Mr. Ned and Hilbert's comments on the feeling of representing Guyana. So as you speak to young people there, you might inspire somebody who know that they do not have the ability or the gift of fantastic public speaking, or they are not highly educated, but sports can be an avenue that they can represent Guyana. Explain that feelings when you represent Guyana and you win, what it do to you.
It was on the 22nd of July 1984, the first time I would have represented Guyana against Russia, against Trinidad, against St. Lucia, against Suriname, against French Guyana. That was called the Caribbean Championships at the time, but there was a Russian ship at bay that wanted to play volleyball, so they came on board. I can recall vividly when the national anthem of my country was played, I cried. And I pledged that I will do my best to defend my country. And in the end, I got the MVP. I was the most valuable player. I can remember at that time you hadn't TV much and so on. My father listened to the commentary on radio, and he was making so much noise that all the neighbors come out, these big transistor radios that you had. And all the neighbors came out and they sat, and my mother told him, you should not be clapping and applauding because you never used to encourage the boys' sports. So you should be making noise. And he said, here, my son, and it was so nice, it was resounding. And I'm proud to sit here and say that because of that, I managed to captain the country, Guyana. And I'm still fighting for Guyana for representation in volleyball. As I sit here too, I'm with the CSV, that is the South American Federation, the president, asking them for permission for our juniors to be able to participate in Colombia this year in volleyball. It was a nice feeling. And until now, until this day, I still have the uniform that I used to represent the country at that time. And after then, I went on to many other matches in Colombia, in Venezuela, in Brazil, in Jamaica, all over the world. So it's very good when you become a national player. And you know, one little thing I tell people is when somebody can give you a 5, or your coach or your parents can encourage you and give you a 5. That is very nice. But in the interest of volleyball, if you want to participate, we have teams in Port Morant, we have teams in New Amsterdam, the rollers team. I know Kanji started up, We also have teams in the number 71. We have teams in Blackbush. We have teams in number 55, teams in number 52. We have teams all around. We also have some cricketers who play volleyball and volleyballers who play cricket when the time is right. When you have the rainy season and cricket can be played, they come over to volleyball. When the sun is shining, they move over to cricket. So there we go.
Can you share with them your contact information so persons can call you in case they want to start doing volleyball in their community?
Well, as president and head coach, 641-9592 is my number, my cell phone number, or 336-6264. I repeat, 641-9592 or 336-6264. Also in Blackbush, we have one Nick there, that they have a vibrant volleyball club at 645-6010. We also have in New Amsterdam the Rollers volleyball team with Mr. Errol Fingal, and he is the technical director of volleyball. He knows all the technicalities. He is 688-2998, and we are encouraging females and youths to go there. At number 52 Village, we have Andy Roman at 610-4964. He happens to be a cricketer too. At number 55 Village, we have Daniel at 650-6535. At number 71 Village, we have 653-9884. That is Chatterpall. And in Region 5, we have the Three Door Strikers there, run by Navin at 626-2968. Also at Hope Town, which is a newly formed club, we have Ronaldo Bob there at 638-6142. And we have the old Blairmont Vikings. That would have been the team that I started with at Blairmont number 2 settlement at the community center that is being run by the Mohabiers. They have restarted too. So if parents are interested, they can let their kids go there and join. And volleyball is a very cheap sport. You can even play barefooted. Once you have on clothes, you just put up a string and you knock the ball over and over. It's a spectacular game. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Gilbert. 1 minute.
Well, I think that representing your country is the greatest achievement one could have, because it's a country that you were born in, and to put it on the map makes you feel special. And I think the best thing that I could talk about is the famous Viv Richards incident. As you know, Viv Richards is perhaps the greatest batsman the West Indies has ever produced. He was offered a blank check to go to betray his country and to go to South Africa. I think it was in 1981, to write in any amount of money that he wanted. And he told them quite clearly, keep your blood money. I'm a proud West Indian, and I will continue to be. Unfortunately, in this world today, some sportsmen put money above their country, but it's a great feeling and it's a great achievement. I've represented Guyana, and I am representing Guyana at the cricket level, and it is nice to be part of that and to help to develop your country.
Amir, tell the members of the public how you feel about moving into that role of representing Guyana. Are you looking forward to represent Guyana?
Definitely. Definitely. It's a great, great feeling just to hear the feelings that Mr. Neda had, the inspirational stuff from Mr. Foster himself. And maybe one day I will get there, but hopefully I can get there through sports in continuing to make a positive difference.
Thank you very much, Amir. At this time, we are wrapping up. So, ladies and gentlemen, I know that also that if you are a good sportsman or sportswoman, that it helps you to control your temper. Earlier, Hilbert said that you do not sleep when you lose. I believe that when you lose, it's sometimes very good, because it helps you to remember that you are human. It's helped to remind you that you have limitations. And as a good sportsman, you should accept it with dignity, knowing that there is tomorrow and I have another day to fight. And when you fail sometime, it gives you the motivation to continue. Sports help to give you that highs and lows in life. And it helps you to control your temper and anger, two things that we want to work with young men to help them to control, to reduce domestic violence and all form of violence. I must say this, because if I do not say this to every young boy or girl or mother or father or uncle or guardian listening to me, something is going to happen in Guyana, and it's very simple. The Guyana government is going to have access to money to develop facilities. I was looking 3 consecutive nights of how the United States is picking their team to go to Tokyo for the Olympics. And they are doing swimming, and I said to young Annan last night, look, these people facilities, the size of the facility, the magnitude of the crowd, although it's COVID period, and the organization that they have. And in 3 nights, they can't finish picking their swimming team. In Guyana, we would do that in an hour, because we didn't have much options. And the facilities in rural America are so fantastic. Guyana is going to have the oil wealth, and our facilities are going to be developed to international standard, thus giving our young people the opportunity to run on synthetic track, to practice Mr. Ned in indoor facilities, to have Olympic swimming size swim pool right here in our region, that they do not have to go to Georgetown to practice. I know that some runners go internationally and they cannot wear peg boots because they are not accustomed to it. And these are changes that are going to take place that are going to professionalize sports. Take, for instance, boxing. What the guy named that made 400 million in one fight?
Tyson.
No, Mayweather. 400 million US dollar multiplied by $200 per one. Billionaire in one fight. Pacquiao in the Philippines is now running to become president. He's already in the Senate because of what boxing allow him to do. That is going to happen to young people in Guyana. So I'm imploring you to join up with an organization that will help you to prepare that when the facilities are completed, you can be able to utilize them. In closing, this is
one quick thing, Alex. I think one of the biggest mistake that parents has is that they strongly believe that involvement in sports will make you less educated in school. But I am of the view that sports assist you to be more focused, to be more disciplined, to be more dedicated. And I give you some good examples. Brian Lara, another cricketing great, and Jimmy Adams were outstanding in school. In my club last year, Jonathan Rampasad had 9 or 10 grade 1s with 2 grade 2. And he's currently doing quite well at the University of Guyana. So do not be of the belief that sports affects your children. It will only affect them if you allow them to not concentrate. To make 100 in cricket, you have to concentrate. To write maths, you have to concentrate. And it will help them to become better in school once you as parents stay focused and keep them in a straight line.
And now is up, and it's very strange that at the beginning of this program, members of the panel were studying if we would have made it through. But they are all passionate about what they are doing. So I would like to thank Mr. Hilbert Foster, Mr. Levi Ned, Mr. Amir from Rahaman for participating in today's activity. And I would like to thank the Spotlight Initiative Project for making this presentation possible. So on behalf of our collaborating partners, the United Bricklayers in New Amsterdam and St. Francis Community Developers, this is the end of week 5 of Gender-Based Violence and You. Please join us again next week on DTV, Channel 8, Little Rock Television and NCN for another week's program in domestic violence or gender-based violence and you. Thank you very much for this week's focus on sports.